So I hope that you saw my first film dedicated to Marshall McLuhan, a very charismatic personality and figure which problematized our approach to media and this distinction between hot medium and cool medium is very interesting and very important. And I think that we have to also think about how much we are aware of our being part of this huge industry of media, and how not only reading text or knowing history or philosophy is important, but also this process of participating in educational process, but also being a student, you are also influencing your friends, members of your family, even your teachers. So you are also teaching. It's important to be aware of how actively we are participating in the process of communication. So in my second part, I will follow, perhaps you remember, I mentioned Walter Ong. Walter Ong, who was a student of McLuhan at St. Louis University. He himself, from the beginning, so to say, was the Catholic, and as a young man became a Jesuit, and as a Jesuit met McLuhan, and after all his educational academic training, became himself a professor of English literature at St. Louis University. But in the United States, he was very well known as the public figure, public intellectuals, was traveling around the world, wrote several books. I have a chance to meet him, but only by telephone. We spoke in 2002, and I will say more about this just in the second. And his last written text, which was published in 2000, in the year 2000, I have a chance to translate into Polish and to publish it in one of the review in 2002 or 4. So nevertheless, why it is important, this text which I send you, and you will find it on the platform, will be clear in a few minutes. Now, why in this context of analyzing relationship between media and philosophy, I bother you with this completely, I suppose, unknown to you name, Walter Ong. But if you are interested in media or in cultural anthropology, you could meet his name. Two of his books are translated into Polish. One is Orality and Literacy, which was already published twice, and the collection of his essay is also translated into Polish. But since we have a chance to read him in English, so translation is important because he is present also in Polish critical reflection on media. But I will focus on his English speaking activity, so to say. So he was born in 1912 and passed away in 2003. So it was really long life, and perhaps the most important experience in his life, apart that he was Jesuit and all his life a member of this religious order, his meeting with Marshall McLuhan was decisive. Why? because McLuhan drew his attention to the fact that in our European culture something happened which influenced our way how we as humans communicate with one another. And it was the subject of his of Ong's PhD research. He spent many years writing a very thick book, 2 volumes even, at Harvard University. So it's very, as you know, important academic center in United States. And he published his PhD in 1958, and the title was Ramus' Method and the Decay of Dialogue. And I think this is the very interesting that already during your studies you are fascinated by some topics, or you are trying to develop or deepen some dimension of human activities, of human culture. So he, as a young man, was interested why we have problem to communicate with one another, and he discovered that. Because we were more interested in memorizing things, memorizing, for example, um, catechism or formulas on dogmas instead of listening to one another, instead of being curious, interested what the other person are really thinking. So you are listening and you try to understand. Instead, our attitude, and it was already in 16th, 17th century, that the people were more interested in transmitting your own wisdom, your own understanding. So, in a way, one-way transmission. And for the first book of Ong, this intuition that something bad happened in our civilization is very clear. So instead of, as I said, listening, you are more interested in transmitting your message. So the lack of dialogue, the lack of mutual understanding. In the same time, and this is very important, I think, he wrote a collection of essay, Frontiers in American Catholicism. Already in 50s, he was postulating or underlying that even if you are Catholic, it doesn't mean that you have truth in your pocket, that you are so to say, free from research, from looking for new solutions. And it was very progressive, very liberal way of thinking. And in his essays, conferences, debates. He was a representative of this liberal Catholicism, and he was interested in frontiers. What happened between you and non-believers, between you as a Catholic and Protestant, you as Catholic and Jews, so other religions. So it's very interesting, right? So being religious, you are at the same time interested in how it works, how the message which you have inside you, you communicate with others, or how you react to what the others are saying to you. I mentioned already that one of his books is translated into Polish. It was published in 82, Orality and Literacy, and you will find on the platform. It's not easy to read this book. It's very difficult, but it's insightful. Reading this book, if you will have time and if you are interested, you will enter in this effort to understand how technology, how printed press, how, for example, modern time, internet, YouTube, social media. So you can follow his methods in analyzing also the world in which you are living, uh, the way how you are using media. So this is very, very, very important and very creative also. Is a book which are opening new perspectives, new horizons. So please read perhaps only introduction or some chapters, but you will see how philosophy is present there. Uh, Philosophy of dialogue, philosophy which is interested in reaching others, to communicate others, and media is only an instrument to be used in order to develop your philosophical skills. And the last few minutes, which I would like to dedicate to Walter Ong, will be a short comment to this only 7 pages article, which you will find also in the platform. Where we are now, where we are now, is the old Walter Ong wrote it, reflecting on the present moment, right? So for him was very important to take into consideration all achievements of science, of humanities, and to reflect upon who you are. So if you are religious, and it was his case, so religious books are very important for you, right? But he said it's impossible to take religious accounts like Genesis or Hebrew Bible or New Testament without including also the context in which these books were written, without including also science, cosmology, biology, evolution. All this have to be written, read together. You have to read all this as a one entire book. And I mentioned that for him, the problem of dialogue is very important. And indeed, this short text is showing how we should open our eyes, our ears, our senses to what is coming to us. And only when we are really accepting the variety of messages which are coming to us, we are able to discover our subjectivity and subjectivity of others. So we cannot focus our attention on, for example, um, catechism or theology as a reflection of your own tradition. We have, so to say, write a new chapter in our philosophical way of thinking, and using also a new media situation, this cool medium and hot medium. You remember what McLuhan introduced, but it means that you are active partner of what is going on around you. And I found thought of Walter Ong so fascinating that I wrote my one of my books exactly dedicating to him, Anthropology of Word, Cultural Anthropology. How he was able to creatively develop what his heritage, his tradition was. And I think this is a very um, important insight into our reflection on the relationship between media and philosophy. So philosophy is not detached from the way how we transmit philosophy, how we learn about philosophy. For example, YouTube means that you can use this uh, medium not only to see what the other have to say, but also that you creating your own YouTube channel, you became a transmitter, someone who is influencing others. So as you see, McLuhan and Ong are two very inspiring thinkers, and I hope that in your questions you will ask me more about them. And in our third film, we will reflect on where we really are now today.